choose to love with freedom flies from my heart where the light keeps shining, and I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love.
Welcome back. We are Grace Healing Ministries. This is part 2 of a series that we are doing right now. And this is speaking to the nature of God's divine love and the deceptions within the law of attraction on that point. So we have always promised you at the beginning of these videos we will pray first. And even though this is a part 2, we will still pray to engage first. So we choose God's presence first. We choose His holy protection over you, that you would hear, know, and rest upon only the words that God intends for you at this time of your journey. So we breathe deep. Yarvele me kahas na halundre kuirbara abun solikelbi ashtakini ketuyari Yeshua uliebesne halmundur koyadatuana. Yahweh, God and Creator, we surrender into your life-giving breath, which we know brings forth your perfect wisdom, clarity, divine grace, holy discernment. Yeshua, we thank you that you have established a hedge of protection around each person who watches this video, that they will receive that which you intend, and that you would protect them from anything that falls short of your glory. We praise you and worship you through your most blessed and holy name, and welcome this time to share in the fullness of your love, the awesome wonder of your presence, and the holy discernment that you gift us in each moment as we seek you first. We breathe, we rest, we receive. Yahweh lakantru yemenere Yeshua abun soliel nikalabarasi yashma. Amen. So, when we were closing out at the end of the last video, it just came welling up in me to give somebody a practical understanding of what we're talking about in the last video. How would this apply to you in a public setting? And I want to share with you a story that somebody told us, because a woman used to reach out quite consistently through the conference lines that we have, because we have conference prayer lines available. And long story short, I used to do a lot of them. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, every day except Sundays, and like 1 on Wednesday. But every other day was twice a day. And it was a lot of conference calls, so there were a lot of people that came and went in a lot of different situations. But this woman reached out one day, and she was so excited because she'd been reaching to Grace Healing for a number of years for prayer. Just had many remarkable things happening for her. And she reached out and she said, I have a story to tell you and I need to share this with the group. And I'm like, well, great, go for it. So I kind of muted out and she started talking, and she was so excited, just elated to be able to share this story, because she wanted to say that what we were sharing with her really worked. It wasn't just this theoretical thing. It was something real, and she saw a result that she honestly, even at that point, after witnessing it, was still having a hard time grasping the power that it brought forth. So what happened is, and I'm going to give you some descriptives around this so that you actually can visualize what happened to her. So you walk into a bank. What's the first thing you see when you walk into a bank? A little corral that everybody walks through to kind of go to their teller, correct?
Yeah.
So she describes that she was going through the little corral thing. She had her stuff all together, and as she's going through, she realizes off to her left that there's this guy yelling and screaming at a teller. So here's the window of where the teller is, and then below that is this countertop. So he's got his hands rested on there the way that she was describing it, and he is yelling and screaming at her through the teller window and getting extremely aggressive. Enough so that everybody in the bank was like looking in the direction going, what is going on over there? Thinking that there was some kind of a major problem unfolding.
Sure.
So now the woman was quite candid, because she said, well, normally I would have been, I can't believe this. And she would have been all upset because she was commenting on the phone how she would normally have gone into a place of righteous indignation, judgment, because this is what it elicited in her.
Yeah, that's
But she
right.
sought God first, And she encountered, don't let this throw you off, she encountered the demonic spirit of righteousness. The reason why I say that is because there is only one thing of righteousness, Yahweh's presence. For us to claim righteousness, we have stepped in a spiritual realm to actually think of ourselves as the righteousness that is God. So in other words, we've elevated ourselves through spiritual desire and spiritual gain. So she recognized through discernment, and she saw God first, spiritual righteousness. She released it. Spirit of high judgment. She began to judge him because everybody in the bank was beginning to judge this guy that was yelling and screaming at this young teller. So instead of engaging in this, she's kind of making her way through, and she's coming up onto her point where she's about to go to a window, and she starts to notice behind the tellers a bunch of people coalescing as if they're going to come to the guy and diffuse it. And as she's praying, she's releasing what's going on in her, from the righteousness to the judgment to the indignation, all the different things that she was experiencing. And she just breathed, and she looked over, and she saw the spirit of aggression, hostility, anger, confusion, and fear. So, instead of what she used to do, which was, I can't believe this, she sat there and said, I released the spirit of aggression, hostility, anger, and it was actually fear, confusion. It was the other way around. The final one was confusion. Fear and confusion. The moment she said within her confusion, the guy was standing there with his hands on the counter, went like this. Not a word came out of his mouth. His head went down, and she's like standing there going, whoa, what happened? So she said at that moment, God in his infinite wisdom opened up the teller right next to him.
Oh, wow.
For her to go from the end of the little corral thing directly across the aisle to the teller window at hers. But everything is kind of stuck in what they call this pregnant pause. Nobody's really doing anything at the bank anymore because all the yelling and screaming stopped. So when you hear a raucous bunch of noise, people try to keep busy to ignore it. But the minute it goes silent, they're like, uh-oh, what happened? It's kind of like when a person thrashes through the woods, banging, thrashing, making all kinds of noise, and then they come to a stop. And all the deer that were in hiding go, what is that? And they're looking, going, what happened? Where did that noise disappear to? We need to see the possibility of a threat. So now everybody in the bank is just frozen right where they were stood, the way she's described it. And as she looks over, the guy raises his head up and looks directly at the teller and says, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be aggressive, hostile, or angry.
Amazing.
I was afraid. And he stated what he was fearful of in the nature of what was going on in the account, and I was totally confused, and I didn't know how to resolve the issue. So the woman standing at the window next door is sitting there in awe, because he just named the spirit. She didn't tell him anything.
Yeah, amazing. That's just
and
awesome.
He named each and every one of them in the order that she's released them. And then when he says, I was so confused, and I didn't know what to do, I thought that the deposit was set over here, and I can't afford the funds, and the woman's like, now let's look at God in the moment. With this guy yelling and screaming, do you think that teller would do anything to help that guy?
Wouldn't think so.
No, she would do everything she could to make that guy's day miserable from that point forward, because she had that righteous place. As the bank teller, she could have done whatever she felt from her place of power because of his wrongful act. She could have functioned within the bank's authority to either cast him out or to charge him every single fee that was possible on that thing from the screw-up in the bank transfer. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. She had every right to.
However, since the guy named the spirits, and since the woman released the spirit of righteousness, this righteousness was not laid hold within the teller. And the teller was like, oh, that's okay, sir. I understand. We can help you, and we can get rid of the fees. So now the woman finishes up her banking and stuff, and the way she described it is she said, as she was finishing the banking, as I started to walk by, she hears the gentleman laughing and chuckling with the woman, and the woman's removing fees and removing all the confusion and getting all the banking in proper order as she's going by to leave. That's what we mean when we say that if you embrace the presence of God's love within you, you will see many things rise.
Yes.
If we took that on in the form of a battleground, we would have escalated the behavior. However, since this beautiful gift of God's grace, this daughter of God, that welcomed the understanding that God was more powerful within her than the situation she was witnessing, she chose that.
Yes.
And that's what manifested, was
Wow.
God in the setting. And just a brief comment, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but a brief comment. That gentleman received an amazing gift of grace. He was removed from the spiritual influences that were governing his actions, and God, by grace, was able to set things into proper order for him. Now, Yeshua did say, release anything of a spirit nature or of a demonic nature, you must welcome the presence of God within, or many of like kind will return. And we don't know. This guy could have gone right down the street to the next store on the line and been the same monster he was
Yes.
at the bank, because he's
Yeah.
not in the place of knowing. He's not holding knowledge of understanding. He's not equipped in power, which is knowledge and understanding through discernment. However, he did receive a gift of grace, which was God's presence through his daughter, bringing holy blessing into the situation, and then his daughter, the teller, bringing things into proper order, because this woman chose God above the circumstance. So that's what I
Yeah.
wanted to share on that. But you,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I can relate
yes,
to that with
I
things
thought
that
you
Yeah. With things that I've been through, and I don't have to go into great detail, but it was a matter of again centering upon His very presence and His love in the corporate body that I've served in the professional end of things recently, and experiencing those very kind of things, spiritual influences rising
yep,
in the body for which that I was given authority by God.
when you say body of which, you mean the corporate body,
The
right?
corporate body
yes, that
for
you
which
were the boss over.
Yeah, that I was the boss over. And that if I had not engaged in the teachings and understanding of the truth of God, of His Word that's within me, things wouldn't have shifted in the way that it had. And actually, with the help with Grace Healing and with Larry alongside of me, I saw great change in people's demeanors,
Yes.
their personalities, and how I thought they were attacking me.
If I remember correctly, it was like instantaneous change. Am I right?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, there's been one gentleman that has been at this particular business that I was privileged to be in charge of. He'd been there for 30 years, just your typical older man.
Yeah.
Would come at me with certain things, saying things that I felt being attacked by.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing this, I wasn't doing that, da-da-da-da-da.
When they actually were being done.
They were.
Yeah.
They actually were, but and I kept this
His
little...
perception,
Yeah.
spiritual veil.
And this little guy kept coming at me. I'm thinking, why do I keep seeing
But
him?
the old thinking you had
That was
made
it.
you think it was a spiritual attack.
Right.
When we shifted to this awareness that this is merely spiritual revelation, then what happened?
Oh, then it totally changed. I was able to release that, and I did relieve it, and I did receive him in a loving manner, that I did not hold any resentment or that he hated me. It actually was spiritual. And so, walking it and spending that time with God, things changed dramatically, instantly. Had a board meeting, he was there. At that point, it was like, there was some tangible fruit that came about that I saw.
Yes.
He totally changed, his whole demeanor changed. It was almost as if, he never said those things to
Yeah.
me before.
He was like a completely different person.
Totally different person. He thought what I was doing was incredible.
Understanding, uplifting, raising you up.
Yeah, thinking, wow, that was one incident. I'm just sharing one thing, but it was that. It's
Yes.
that easy. It is that easy that we don't think we've got to do this stuff.
Maybe it's that simple, not that easy.
There's that. Let's change that, because it wasn't. So we think it was that simple, but the easy because of the years that I have learned.
Right. You had to get rid of those veils.
And that it took a little bit of time. But when you realize it and you just trust and walk in it and do it, but it really has to be in His presence, having a relationship with God. Because we can sit here and you can share all the stories that you want and talk about, well, these are the steps that you must go through.
Right.
It ain't going to work
right.
unless you have that relationship with God.
And the key is, you don't have to earn the relationship
with
grace. God. It's grace. You need to turn and recognize it and honor it.
Yes.
That's the key. It's not something you have to do to make it conjure up. You're not going to form up a potion of newts, noses, and eyes and all. You're going to sit down in the presence of God and develop your awareness of God's presence within you.
Yes.
Not what the world has taught you, not the outside influences of knowledge of man. God in you, to move you to the greater understanding. It is not you yourself, your person. It is God within you that governs the nature of you yourself. And anything that rises within you that does not align with God, you simply release it into God's embrace. And that is by surrendering it from within to become one with God's presence and let it be poured back upon God, back upon you in the form of blessing. So if you've known anger of the past, let it become patience within you. If you've known hostility, let it become peace and understanding, compassion. So let these things sit with you. And we do want to close this one out early because this is a second phase of a 2-part video. And just please know that we at Grace Healing love you dearly. We recommend you do go to the gracehealing.org site. Our brother Andy, we have a wonderful friend Andy, and he has come in and he has helped us redo the website.
Yes, he sure
improve things, set up the resource page so that all the previous audio recordings are available to you, the instructions that we provide through the conference lines, the additional videos that we have here on Grace Healing YouTube. Please subscribe, and then you'll get updates when we release new videos onto YouTube. And please send us your comments. Send us your thoughts. We would love to form these videos around what you're seeking. Right. We've shared with you a lot of things over these series of videos, but we would like to know, now that you understand these things, when you encounter this in the world, what is it would you like to know? And we welcome any of your input. We have no fear of anything that people present to us, because if somebody comes in the form of an attack, we see it merely as spiritual revelation. If somebody comes in the form of blessing, we offer thanksgiving to recognize God within them. It's the same either way,
Yeah, absolutely.
So would you like to close in prayer?
Yes. So if we can engage in prayer in His presence, breathing deep. Ayarvioso Koreara Viana Mia Sioloriara Vaconiara Basi Keniara Botosiata Mayaravio Koreara Viashiti Viana Modoriara Van. Thank you, Yeshua, once again for our time. And we get to engage and share of your love with others that are here and listening of your precious children, your sons and daughters, which they all are. Even if they're not even awakened to it, that they begin to be awakened of your great love that is within them, and using us to a measure that reaches down deep within their hearts, vibrating deep within of the very breath that they breathe, and to make it so easy. It's simple, but as with just sharing in this video of things we've been through in our lives, whatever it might be, that they just surrender all, release all those things, and receive you fully within their hearts and walk it out, extending love to others in their lives in such a powerful way that is only from your love. So with that, we thank you, and we come to the close of this video and moving forward into that which that you have called for all your children, and through Grace Healing, for your glory and your purposes. When we lift you up and thank you in all things. We praise you, we worship you, and we extend out that love to others that you've put across in our paths, even now, of all that are hearing and watching these. Move mightily in you. And we thank you and we praise you in your most precious name.
Yahweh Elohim, etu yemenere Yeshua abun sole bentru khalamah. Have an amazing day, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.
We love
Take
you.
care and be blessed.
Yeah.